it is for Darren Cave. The 25-year-old centre three-quarter tonight becomes one of a great list of Ulster players to win 100 caps for his province. The rest of the side led by Johan Muller coming out after Darren Cave. For him it is going to be a very special evening. Well, Johan Muller's back from injury to lead the side. Tom Court resumes at loose head prop. John O'Foe back at his preferred tight head position. And for the very first time this season, Irish lock Dan Toohey starts on the blind side of the Ulster scrum. As we mentioned, Darren Cave wins his 100th cap. Welcome back to Jared Payne after a 2-month absence. Paddy Jackson is straight back from his first Six Nations campaign, and he's partnered by Paul Marshall, who won his first Irish cap last weekend in Rome. It has not been a great season for Edinburgh. They've lost their last 11 competitive games, and it's welcome back after a nasty injury in the autumn sustained against the All Blacks to open side flanker Ross Rennie. Sean Cox is the man to lead Edinburgh tonight. He's partnered in the second row by Grant Kilchrist, Scotland's newest second row international cap. Two significant returns to the back row, Fijian Artini Talai at number 8, and as we mentioned, after an absence, Ross Rennie back in the number 7 jersey. Steve Scott's put his faith in the Limerick-born Sean Kennedy at scrum half. He partners another youngster, Piers Francis. Wing Dougie Fife moves into the centre, but there's pace out wide in Lee Jones and Tom Brown. Refereeing his 26th Pro 12 game is Leighton Hodges from Wales, and the men on the touchline are David Changleng and Graham Marshall. Well, it's been quite a couple of months for Ulster's young outside half, Paddy Jackson, and he's the man who gets this game underway. Edinburgh have won the toss and have elected to play into a pretty stiffish breeze, which will be at the Ulster backs. And you can see just how stiff that breeze is. Well, he hasn't played since the beginning of January, Jared Payne. Talai gives it back inside to Greg Tonks, and Tonks finds a pretty good touch into a very stiffish breeze. Robbie Dyack making his 12th start of the season for Ulster. Edinburgh have only won one of the last 8 encounters between these two sides, and the last 3 games have resulted in bonus point victories for Ulster. Although the Irish province have seen their lead gradually whittled away at the top of the league, and they're now in second place. Quicker ball by Muller, good pass by Marshall. Stuart Olding, who scored a try in the last 2 games for his province, gets Ulster across the gain line, and Ulster get the penalty. Now there is a big wind blowing. Mike McComish, the man who was doing some good work in the ground. And Edinburgh, I don't think, just getting away, and a little nasty Edinburgh hand going in there according to the referee. Well, that's not such a good kick. Ulster failing to find touch in the penalty. That's an early error which won't please the coach Mark Anscombe, and Edinburgh reply with a bit of interest. So maybe there's not that much of a wind advantage. There's Greg Tonks, 23 years of age, now a Scotland A international. Well, about 5 minutes ago, the flags were blowing in what seemed to be Ulster's favour. There's a very fine mist is starting to come down, so I hope that's not going to affect the game. Ulster's Rob Herring. Again, another good take by Ulster at the line-out, and again it was Johan Muller whom Ulster really missed. That's good go-forward ball by the visitors. And as ever, Edinburgh competing at the breakdown, and they've shunted Ulster infield. Here goes Marshall. Gets it away to Michael Allen. Good pace by Allen, little hand trip. That was nicely done by Sean Kennedy. Ulster though with the front foot ball. Marshall, Paddy Jackson had to stretch. Muller. Good switch. Jackson. Robbie Dyack. Fantastic tackle by Stuart McAnally for Edinburgh. Here's Marshall. Dan Toohey in the unfamiliar role of number 6, but he's played there before, but not very often. Taken on by Mike McComish. John Afoa, who's captain Ulster twice this season. Ulster within a few metres of the Edinburgh 22, looking for a good early start. Nicely presented, Jackson. Olding. Needed to put a wee bit more pace in that. Here's Marshall, now Jared Payne. Lovely pass, Dyack. But everybody was a little bit on the flat side. Dyack just shakes his head. Wasn't Michael Allen's fault, really. Wasn't a lot the young man could do about that. Good little bit of pace in the ball, though, by Ulster. Look at Marshall looking for everything. Little check by Payne. Nice pass. He decided to miss out Mike McComish, but maybe the gap was there.
Scrum option taken, knock forward into touch off white. Scrum, white ball. Scrum.
Leighton Hodges has decided the ball was knocked forward by Ulster, and he's offered Edinburgh the scrummage. Alan Jacobson, Steve Laurie and Willem Nel, so plenty of experience in the front row, especially in the props, but great experience in the front row on the Edinburgh bench, with 3 internationals all poised to come on at some stage. Tom Court against Willem Nel. Touch judge on this side is Graham Marshall. Decided not to interfere. Leighton Hodges will ask them to do it again.
Make sure we hit up, okay? Hit up on this side. Lads, I need you quicker in the crouch. That's far too long, okay?
Leighton Hodges telling Edinburgh to be a little bit quicker and getting themselves into position to engage. Tom Court used only once by Ireland in the Six Nations campaign. That was when Cian Healy was suspended. Good subtle looking Edinburgh scrum. That's good work by Ulster, though. Natani Talai picks up, but he doesn't make much in the way of ground. Ulster looking for the first turnover. Haven't got it. Kennedy gets it away. Stuart McNally took it forward. Outside the 22, so Kennedy has to kick. Allen gathers. Decides to put the boot to it. That's not a bad one. Well, that's gone into no man's land. Tonks goes all the way back. He's carried it over his dead ball line, and Andrew Trimble breathing down his neck, and he finds his touch just about. So early Ulster pressure, and Michael Allen did well to retrieve what looked like a difficult situation by putting in a very clever kick. Greg Tonks, formerly of the Leicester Tigers and the Northampton Saints, qualifies for Scotland because his mother's from Ayrshire. Rather snowy Ayrshire, as I recall, driving through it pretty early this morning. Here's Herring again. Ulster still keeping the pressure on. That was Dan Toohey, used as a more than decent auxiliary jumper. Lewis Stevenson with the ball tucked in. Paul Marshall urging them to go forward, and they are going forward. That's good work by Ulster, although Edinburgh have shunted them towards the touchline, and it does go into touch, and that should be a home line out. So good defensive work by Edinburgh.
Eight through the middle. Good checking, Nate.
Well, good initial catch and drive by Ulster, but clever defensive tactics by Edinburgh. Ulster might well have been employed to get it away a bit quicker. Stephen Laurie now 29 years of age. Edinburgh shortened the line out. Ulster very nearly disrupted.
Now it's forward off 5 in the air.
Knocked forward by the Edinburgh skipper Sean Cox, according to the referee, and that will give Ulster a scrum in a pretty good position. Stoppage for a little bit of an injury to Natani Talai, I have a feeling. Laurie through. Ulster really challenged. That's what they've missed in recent weeks. Johan Muller taking on the opposition. Well, I hope for Edinburgh's sake that he hasn't tweaked the hamstring. Massive player, 30 years of age, from Suva in Fiji, member of 2 successive Fijian World Cup squads. 24 caps for his country. He's been a pretty impressive performer for Edinburgh over the past couple of seasons. Signed a 3-year deal. This is the last of his 3rd year with Edinburgh. Good news for Edinburgh is that their number 8 seems to be fine. Good straightforward scrum. Tom Court coming up a little bit. Great drive by Ulster. Referee's going to ask them to do it again.
We've gone up on this side first, so we just reset here. Both gone up on this side, yeah? Yeah, let's go on this side, gents. Let's go back. Discipline.
Referee's asked him to do this again. Paul Marshall, who seemed to have waited an age to get his first Irish cap, and he waited for an age on the touchline of the Stadio Olimpico in sunny Rome last Saturday before he came on right at the end to become a fully fledged international. Another man only 2 caps away from 100 for Ulster. Good squeeze by Edinburgh. Marshall gets it away. Jackson. Oh, Oldings made a nice little break. Good tackle by Kennedy. Ulster need it quickly. Marshall. Spilled by Toohey. Frustrating time for Ulster's coach Mark Anscombe, who knows his side must, in fact it was Muller who spilled it, wearing a similar bit of headgear. And we put that, it was Toohey after all. What a rustiness there. Remember, some of these players haven't played for quite a while.
I need you to stay straight and square. That's what I need. I need you to stay straight and square.
On the far side of the Edinburgh scrum, the man delightfully referred to down the years as Chunk. Alan Jacobson, now 34 years of age, retired from international rugby. 65 Scottish caps, dating back to Canada 2002. What a great man he's been. And still is, I have to say. Tom Court got the bind at the second attempt. That's a good squeeze by Ulster. The Edinburgh scrum disrupted. Marshall putting a lot of pressure on Kennedy at the back, picked up by Talai at the back. Gets away from the first tackle. Robbie Dyack hands on to him. Good support play by Stuart McAnally. Toohey gets out of it. Inside the 22. McComish came hurtling through. Oh, that's a very good clearance kick by Edinburgh. That really is a belter. Nothing much Michael Allen could do about that. So despite the iffy scrum, it was nicely done by Piers Francis, born in Gravesend 22 years ago. So Ulster back inside their own half. So we're 10 minutes gone, still no score. Muller calling the shots, called it to himself. Perfectly done. Court in support. Herring comes round. Marshall has a little glance to see if there's anything available down the near touchline. Edinburgh have come up very quickly. Ulster still going. Marshall. Well, that's not a great pass either, and several passes have gone awry from Ulster, and these fundamental errors are not helping. Well, there was no real pressure there, and he put the ball into the space perhaps, but it was too far in front of Michael Allen. Good challenge by Ulster at the line-out, and it wasn't straight by Edinburgh. So Ulster's line-out working quite well in terms of winning their own ball securely and putting pressure on the opposition.
Not even credible.
Let's go. Scrum yet.
Sean Cox checks with the referee. Well, let's have another look at that. Was that straight? Not at all. Also getting an early shunt, but the referee happy with it. That's a good bit of wheeling by Edinburgh. Marshall Switches it. Jackson.
White, start.
He's angled that quite nicely, but well covered by Lee Jones. Now his first instinct is normally to run, but he's decided to go for territory. Back goes Dyack. He's got Jared Payne inside him. Oh, charged on. Gathered in by Andrew Trimble. Now that might well be a 22 because it was knocked forward over the Ulster line because of the charge down. And well, the rustiness there, very evident on the part of Jared Payne. He didn't have a lot of time. And good work it was by Ross Rennie, who came hurtling through. And good job for Ulster. Andrew Trimble was there to tidy it up. That could have been the most dramatic of starts for the home side. Lee Jones, who set the whole thing up. Talai gets across the halfway line. Kennedy. McInally. Sean Cox, the Edinburgh skipper. Kennedy again. This is lively stuff by Edinburgh. Big Dougie Fife, the 21-year-old, normally a wing, starting in the centre for a rare occasion. Missed tackle by Ulster. Nell knocks it forward. Picked up by Ulster. Paddy Jackson. And Ulster knock it forward yet again. Referee plays advantage to Edinburgh. Ulster's error count
no
is
advantage.
Approaching critical level in this game.
No advantage, it's a knock-on off White first.
Ulster knocked it forward and Leighton Hodges will give the scrum to Edinburgh. Well collected by Jackson. And again the pass maybe not going to hand. Robbie Dyack had to stretch backward. So that's another mistake by Ulster, who've got Tom Court receiving a bit of attention. Well, it wouldn't be an Ulster match without Tom Court having a problem with his contact lenses. Pretty decent crowd here, in excess of 4,000. They reckon it's one of the biggest they've had of the season. Biggest, of course, for the great derby between their old rivals Glasgow for the 1872 Cup. Court starting his 16th game of this current season for Ulster, now with 30 Irish caps to his name. Coming up to the quarter of an hour played. No score as yet. Edinburgh coming nearest following the charge down of Jared Payne's clearance kick.
Touch. Set.
It's not a bad Edinburgh scrum, well controlled. Kennedy gets it away. Well, there was a high tackle put in there by Paddy Jackson. The referee's got the hand out for the penalty. And Edinburgh taking advantage. Cox takes it on, the Edinburgh skipper. Kennedy again. And they're going to come back for the penalty to Edinburgh. Well, I don't think there's anything deliberate about it, but it was certainly high and was certainly penalisable. Just a little trailing arm, and Paddy Jackson took it away almost as quickly as he threw it. And
just a penalty, high tackle 10, yeah.
Just a penalty, high tackle 10, and this will give Edinburgh, I think, the chance of early points, because Sean Cox has asked Piers Francis to have a go at the Ulster post. He's got one of everything in this short season with Edinburgh. He's scored a try, he's landed a conversion, he's kicked a penalty, and he's dropped a goal for 13 points. Can he make it 16? That's a good stab straight between the Ulster posts. And having survived a fair old period of early Ulster pressure, Edinburgh, assisted by some sloppy work by Ulster, have taken the lead. It's about 16 minutes gone, and thanks to the kicking of Piers Francis, it's Edinburgh 3-0 up. Jackson. Taken on once again by Talai. Kennedy outside his 22. Ooh, he's judged that nicely. A case there for Michael Allen getting shoved in the back a wee bit early, but Ulster have regained possession. There's an Edinburgh hand in there, which the referee hasn't spotted. Marshall. Great covering by Talai into Rob Herring. Mike McComish is in there. Rennie rips it away in characteristic fashion. That seemed to go forward. Kennedy. Gilchrist. Kennedy again. Enterprising stuff from Edinburgh. Cox, the captain, who's a pretty mobile big fella for a second row forward. Likewise Stephen Laurie. Good work by Rob Herring, his opposite number from Ulster. But the home side have it. Kennedy gets it away. Rennie relishing his return to Edinburgh colours. Kennedy again. And they're finding holes in that Ulster defence, but the referee says that was knocked backward. Ulster come hurtling through, and Edinburgh concede the penalty. Somebody sealing that off. Might well have been Tom Brown, the wing three-quarter. Good work once again by Edinburgh and Ben Artiga. Capped once for New Zealand, and Lewis Stevenson came through like an extra set. Paddy Jackson has made a decent bit of ground for Ulster. Well, having topped the league table from just about week 3 or 4, Ulster have seen things come off the rails a little bit in the last couple of months. Started this game on level table points with Glasgow, but behind on match points. Here's Herring. That's gone well. Marshall. McComish. Needs to present it. Well, there's an Edinburgh man just loitering there. It was Rennie. Jackson. Cave back inside to Trimble. It's a typical trademark Andrew Trimble burst, but well defended by Edinburgh. What a thump. Jackson. Tui, who's divested himself of the headgear, takes it on. Marshall. Robbie Dyack. Marshall again. Jackson. Cave. No way through for him. Edinburgh just closed the door. McComish. Marshall. Jackson. Stuart Olding, the youngest member of the Ulster side, still only 19. Marshall. John Afoa. Strong enough to ride the tackle. Marshall again. Great Edinburgh defence. Cave, nicely done. Herring gets it to Payne, runs a good angle. Tui out wide. Plenty of cover though. Marshall. Now Jackson. Better continuity by Ulster. Tom Court sets it up in the middle of the park. Referee says play on. Ulster appealing for the penalty. Here's Payne. Dyack. Good dummy. Good covering tackle though by Edinburgh and by Gilchrist. Jackson. Stevenson fumbles it. Don't think he expected the pass. It was a cutout pass and he wasn't ready for it. And Edinburgh get the scrum. So again, Ulster's build-up, albeit lateral, reasonably impressive. And there's something going on there between the two captains. Sean Cox and Johan Muller, words were said. John Afoa, I think, just winded. It was Jackson. Well, the pass was a bit on the hard side. Tom Court let it go because it was going to be far too hard for him to take on. And alas, Ulster's Lewis Stevenson couldn't manage to control it. It's good refereeing by Leighton Hodges. There was a potential flashpoint there, and he's basically saying to Sean Cox, No need for that. Just keep things nice and calm. Well, first quarter of the game has gone. Edinburgh leading by 3 points to 0. A penalty by Piers Francis after 16 minutes. It's an Edinburgh put in, but the referee has come round to the Ulster loosehead side.
Touch! Set! Push off White.
Ulster freed for the early push. Natani Talai, who's made such a difference. Ditto Ross Rennie. Oh, great offload. This is wonderful stuff by Edinburgh. Some of the sleight of hand will delight Stevie Scott. And Duncan Hodge, of course. Good Ulster defence. Kennedy, though, gets it away. Francis. Good positional play by Jared Payne. Off the outside of the boot. And, well, another little error by Jared Payne. Has missed the last 5 games, and because of Six Nations, he's been out of action for over 2 months. Quite a bit of rain now has arrived from somewhere, so it's going to make things a little bit more difficult. Stephen Laurie. Tom Brown came off his left wing. Kennedy. Gilchrist. Spilled forward. Good Ulster defence. Olding. Darren Cave. Inside to Trimble. Marshall. Well, that's to nobody in particular. It's not a good pass by Marshall. Cave strong enough to make a decent bit of ground. Marshall. Jackson does the right thing. What a big kick from Jackson. That is a monstrous kick from Jackson as he found touch, not quite, but he's made a lot of ground. Counter-attack by Edinburgh and by Lee Jones. Michael Allen put the tackle in. Ball back in the Ulster side. Olding thought there was a little bit of room up the near touchline, but it wasn't. Afoa. Jackson. McComish has to give it, and he does. Payne. Slipped it away nicely. Good covering by Edinburgh, though. Ulster trying just about everything. And Edinburgh have turned that one over. Well, what a scalp this would be if Edinburgh, after a pretty miserable season, could turn over the side that led the league table for such a long time. That's a clever kick yet again by Kennedy. And you can see why he was called up to the Scottish senior training squad. Here goes Trimble. Ignored by Ireland in the Six Nations. Tom Court played only once for Ireland in the Six Nations. Jackson. That looked forward. Play on! Yes, it was forward. Well, Stuart Olding doing his best to wriggle free, but they'll have to come back. Well, it's been another error-strewn performance by Ulster. That was at least a couple of metres forward, and the referee just played a little bit of advantage and none came. Bit of a stoppage for an Ulster player. Edinburgh's captain Sean Cox, born in Lancaster, played nearly 100 games for the Sale Sharks before joining up with Edinburgh. Played every single game in the league this season. Rob Herring, Ulster's hooker, injured. Ice pack in the back of his neck. Rory Best to come back, one assumes next week, following a Six Nations campaign that left Ireland scratching their heads. Well, there is a real little person in there. Probably the warmest little person in the entire stadium, I would suggest. Andrew Trimble got some treatment as well. Rob Herring seems to be fine after that knock from a good solid tackle. Ulster, by my reckoning, missing a dozen players for various reasons. Edinburgh not exactly at full strength either. Nicely away by Edinburgh. Good tackle by Michael Allen on his opposite number, Lee Jones. Kennedy looking for a runner. Looks like Stephen Laurie might oblige, and he does, and he's quick about the park, Laurie. The number 2 to Ross Ford for quite some time. Ulster give away another penalty.
Number 6 broke in a bind early on the back.
Dan Toohey just let his bind go at that breakdown. I don't think Tonks is going to go for goal. Good solid thwack. And Edinburgh makes some decent ground. Well, it's about 15 minutes to go to the interval. And Ulster's hopes of securing a home semi-final in this competition starting to fade at the moment, but there's still plenty of time for them to do something. Well taken at the back by McInally.
Backwards.
Away goes Talai, gets away from the first tackle. Taken on by Willem Nel, WP Nel, the South African. Kennedy. Nice little switch back inside, good covering tackle, but wonderful strength by Edinburgh. It's gone loose, here comes Jared Payne. Marshall, Trimble, Cave, McComish. Ball was behind Toohey, he did well to recover. Referee telling the Edinburgh tackler to leave the man with the ball alone, Marshall. And Paddy Jackson has to kick. Well covered by Talai, that's classic number 8 play. Ball in one massive paw, gets away from the first tackle. Mike McComish has got himself in the way, and there's a penalty coming for Edinburgh. Well in by Andrew Trimble. Referee still playing advantage, but Edinburgh have gained no advantage. And another penalty to Edinburgh. Well, Edinburgh playing like a side who themselves are challenging for the last 4, as opposed to a side who are really struggling for survival this season. And again, Edinburgh deciding, despite a treacherous win actually, they're going to go for territory and possession. Referee saying to Edinburgh just to hurry things up a little bit. They've only got 5 men in the line-out. Ross Rennie's standing in the scrum half position, so this could be an interesting line-out. First things first, they've won it. Cox to Rennie, Francis, Talai, right at the heart of the Ulster defence. Kennedy quickly away, nicely done. Francis looking for a clean break. Trimble has to cover and tackle. Edinburgh now building up a pretty decent head of steam, looking for further points by the interval. Ulster very much in the back foot. Clever switch. Greg Tonks. Probably Dak is in the middle of all that somewhere. Kennedy. Gilchrist gets the upper body through the tackle. Kennedy again. Good work by the hooker, Stephen Laurie. Nell leaves it. Kennedy. Little kick to the corner. Maybe just overcooked it. Dotted down for the 22.
Advantage, offside 10.
But Paddy Jackson was offside. And the referee's going to give the penalty to Edinburgh. Well, and all that excitement watching the ball, we certainly didn't notice Paddy Jackson creeping offside.
Offside 10 white.
But he's got the hand out there, the referee. So Edinburgh will have a fairly straightforward kick at goal to double their lead. And it's certainly not Ulster's evening.
Lads, I'm asking you to go behind the line, please. No. Try line. Yeah.
Well, having absorbed an awful lot of early Ulster attacking pressure, Edinburgh have come back. Penalty after 16 minutes, and just about the same time has elapsed. And Francis with an even easier kick, which he converts pretty straightforwardly. So would you have bet on this scoreline after half an hour here at Murrayfield in this fixture? Because thanks to the boot of Piers Francis, Edinburgh are leading Ulster by 6 points to 0. Well, if you don't believe me, there it is. Jackson, that's not a bad kick. Up goes Trimble, well gathered by Andrew Trimble. Ulster needs something special from him. McComish. Oh, an Edinburgh hand is in there. Jackson, Olding. Good defence by Edinburgh and by Ben Attiga. Not a great pass by Marshall. Ulster leave it behind them, away by Tom Court. Jackson gets it to Rob Herring. Ulster have lost 10 metres from that initial breakdown. Marshall, Jackson, that's better. Cave, good little offload to Andrew Trimble. Marshall, well recovered. Set up by Dan Toohey. Jackson, he's given that a fair old clip, and that's a terrific kick by Jackson. Now, he did have a man or two outside him, but he might well have made the right decision, forcing Edinburgh back into their 22, and there's still time for Ulster to gain a point or two before the half-time whistle goes. Untidily back on the Edinburgh side, but they managed to recover as Ulster graft away. Kennedy, who's played really well. Well, that's a terrific kick by Kennedy. Had that been gathered, Ulster might have been in a wee bit of bother, but it wasn't. Now, if it was knocked into touch, Ulster will get the option of the line-out or the put into the scrummage. And the way the line-out has gone, I'm sure it's going to be the line-out. Oh, it came off an Ulster player, so in fact it's going to be an Edinburgh line-out. Leighton Hodges taking a little bit of time just to tie his lace. Steve Lowry, who's had a very good game so far. A couple of times he's played for the Scotland A side, and he's played for Scotland at under 18, 19 and under 21 age group level. Taking his time. Good challenge by Ulster. Referee spotted an infringement. I think it was a knock-on by Ulster.
So it's a penalty, yeah?
It's not, in fact, it's a penalty against Ulster.
One man in front played the ball.
That's one of those unfortunate laws of the rugby game. An Ulster player touched the ball, knocked it forward, and somebody was standing in front of him. That might just have been Marshall's little hand got to that, and instinctively Johan Muller went for the ball to tidy it in, and that qualified Edinburgh for the penalty. They haven't made a lot of ground, but they're where they want to be, and they're inside Ulster's 10-metre line with just about 6 or 7 minutes remaining of this first half. Stephen Lowry, stolen by Stevenson.
Early at the front.
Stevenson going up before the ball was thrown in properly, and that's a free kick to Edinburgh. It's not the full penalty, so they may well try the scrummage, or they may well put it up into the air. What are they going to do?
Front jump
They're going for the scrum. Johan Miller puts his hands on his knees and shakes his head with disbelief. Not two fairly matched sides in terms of experience. Ulster with 8 internationals, but none on the bench. Edinburgh have 7 in the starting lineup. But remember, they've got 5 on the bench. So Ulster would probably have been looking for a good start before Edinburgh started to bring on a lot of their pretty heavyweight subs.
Touch! Set!
Ulster's 10-metre line.
Balls out.
Kennedy on the near side changes his mind. Ulster trying to employ the choke tackle by holding Sean Kennedy off the ground, and if everything stops and the referee decides there's no advantage, and that's exactly what Ulster have done. So Ulster do get the put into the scrum, and they really need something before half-time, and they're in the wrong part of the field to do that.
I know we had a slip at that last scrum, okay? But if you can, just try and keep your foot. No, you've slipped and gone down.
Referee having a word with Alan Jacobson, saying that he was happy that Jacobson did not collapse the scrum, but he slipped and went down. Better Ulster scrum. Marshall, Trimble in from the wing. Jackson, this is better looking. Olding gets it away to Payne. Swept it nicely to Michael Allen. A lot of black jerseys have come across though. Marshall to McComish. Manages to present the ball quite well. Here's Marshall. Jackson. Well tackled by Edinburgh. Marshall, nobody at outside half. Dyack tries to straighten, and Edinburgh's first up defence has been quite outstanding. Marshall, men in this narrow side. Trimble, Jackson, Olding. Marshall for Trimble to chase. Oh, that's bounced awkwardly, but Kennedy dots it down, and that's going to be a 22. So Ulster's first half reasonable chance, and it's come with only about 3 minutes of this half remaining. Little box kick by Marshall. Lee Jones was looking over his shoulder to see where Trimble was, but had the good sense not to step deliberately in front of him, which would have produced a penalty. Greg Tonks doing the restart kicks. Well, Marshall thought he was leaving that and then decided he wasn't. Payne. He's given that a fair old thump, isn't he? Natani Telai. Into John Afoa. Two mighty men. Kennedy. Tonks onto the left foot. Well covered by Jackson. It's the old-fashioned Gary Owen, maybe a wee bit too far. Gathered in by Tonks. Well, he's been all over the place to lie at the moment, hasn't he? Good support from his skipper, Sean Cox. Ulster doing nothing wrong there, coming through and very nearly getting it back. Gilchrist. Willem Nell. Ulster get the penalty. Holding on to the tackle.
Squeeze ball underneath number 3.
It's what calls the old squeeze ball there, squeezing it back between the legs, which was illegal in the tackle. And also get the chance for first points, and they've had to wait almost the entire duration of the first half. Paddy Jackson, who made his Irish international senior debut here in the Six Nations. Seems a long time ago. Ulster really need their international outside half to get these points. And Jackson duly obliges. So a little bit of encouragement from an Ulster side that has been pretty off sorts, or out of sorts, or off colour, call it what you will. But Jackson kept the head down, the follow through was perfect. Nicely struck by Paddy Jackson. So 3 points retrieved by Ulster. Tonks has put that longish, gathered in by Dyack. Across the 22. Marshall, sensing that half-time was imminent, and probably does the sensible thing and puts it into touch. So Mark Anscombe, I'm pretty sure, will not be altogether happy. In fact, not even remotely happy with his side's first half. His opposite number, Stevie Scott, will be very happy, I think, because Edinburgh have thoroughly deserved their lead. Ulster's error count and penalty count have been far too high. Well, this is the nearest that Edinburgh came to scoring a try. Robbie Dyack had to control an awkwardly bouncing ball. Ross Rennie straight through with the charge down, and Andrew Trimble saved the day for Ulster. But the opening scores went to Edinburgh, and both from the boot of Piers Francis, one from about 35 metres away, nicely struck, and one from an awful lot closer to give Edinburgh a deserved 6-0 lead. Ulster needed to look for something special. Paul Marshall looked up, saw there was a little bit of space. Nice chip for Andrew Trimble to chase, and young Sean Kennedy got all the way back and made it safe. And Ulster eventually got themselves some points. Paddy Jackson right at the end of the half, right between the Edinburgh posts. So no tries yet, all penalties, 2 for Edinburgh, 1 for Ulster. Half time here at Chile Merrifield. Edinburgh 6 and Ulster 3.
Couple of other angels, moving closer to the first fight, scoring units. They're here tonight. They're really going to back to the fight. It seems like they're going to score a record, but congratulations to the first fight, scoring unit. And Hector's National scores for she's fighting on tomorrow's round.
Ulster coming back onto the pitch for the second half, and it looks as if Johan Muller is not coming out. In fact, Johan Muller isn't coming out because it was John Afoa who led the side out, and Nick Williams is on the field, so Dan Toohey is going to move into the second row. So Ulster have made a replacement, and there is Nick Williams, another man who's played very little rugby in the last 4 or 5 weeks, had quite a nasty knee injury, and a bit of a chance is being taken with his fitness tonight. Well, Edinburgh will be very, very confident indeed, and it's interesting that Scotland's much improved Six Nations campaign seems to have permeated through to this Edinburgh side, quite a few of whom were involved. Piers Francis has got his head bandaged. So it's Piers Francis gets the second half underway. And that's what Nick Williams was signed by Ulster to do. And he's made some good aggressive ground. But they've got to play the game at the other end of the park. Another bad kick by Marshall. Tonks spills it. That's gone loose. Tom Court looking for a pickup. Couldn't quite make it. Ball has got into touch, but did it come off an Edinburgh hand? I think it did. And Ulster will get the first line out. So that's a vastly improved opening sequence by Ulster. Greg Tonks was in the right position, but just couldn't make the clean catch. And it seemed to go into touch off Lee Jones. Rob Herring with Toohey now as one of the main jumpers, but Stevenson takes it. Marshall won't thank him for that. Well away by Herring. Mike McComish does well, runs into the formidable frame of Alan Jacobson. There's Williams from at a distance, galloping forward. Ross Rennie holds on to him. Jackson, Olding, Cave. Good tackle by the vastly experienced Ben Atiga. Jared Payne's in the middle of all that. Marshall looking to use the narrow side, where he finds his nice skipper, John Afoa. Jackson. Dyack gets away from the first tackle. Ulster need it quicker, and they've got it. Jackson. Back inside to Olding. Nice little spiral from the teenager. Jackson again. Well, on his 100th cap, Darren Cave will not relish the prospect of looking at that again. Giving the ball back to Kennedy. And that's a very clever kick by Kennedy. And what a prospect he really is. Well, he's hardly put a foot wrong all evening, Kennedy, and was on hand to save what might have been an Ulster try just at the end of the first half. Here's Herring, taken in by Toohey, still wearing 6, jumping as a second row forward. Marshall has a glance, away there by Michael Allen. That's nicely done. Needs a bit of help. Nobody in real proximity. Tom Court and Mike McComish both there. Rennie interfering. Referee says play on. Jackson, Olding, Cave, tourist pass, well done. Here's Payne. Nicely floated to Trimble. This is better by Ulster, but they've got to get a result from this pressure. Jackson, Afoa. Rennie again doing the cleaning out. Now Jackson, seems to be an overlap. Tackled by another new international, Gilchrist. McComish. Sean Cox, Edinburgh skipper, was in there. Ulster get the penalty. Might be looking for something more here. Steady attempt at the drop goal, and that's well wide, and the referee will go for the penalty. Well, a better spell by Ulster, but all this pressure has got to produce points.
Hi.
This is McComish. Ooh, it was Sean Cox himself. on Mike McComish. McComish ducked down a little bit, but the tackle was round the neck, and it doesn't matter whether the man ducks into it or not. You've got to be aware of that. Paddy Jackson now reached the ripe old age of 21. 3 full Irish caps to his name. This is 34th cap for Ulster. And today he scored 134 points in this highly competitive Pro 12 league. A league that Ulster led for more than half the season. Nasty swirling wind over that far side here at Murrayfield. Hasn't made it, so 1 from 2 attempts for Paddy Jackson, and the score stays as it was at the interval. 6-3 to Edinburgh. He wasn't too far away, hard to tell from that angle, but just across the face of the post. Greg Toggs. Payne thinking as he moves. Not a bad kick at all. It's going to force Edinburgh to play it. Talai has to stretch, and Ulster up quickly. Good work in there by Tom Court. Payne saying something to the referee. It's Kennedy. Well, he's kicked that nicely. Found his touch, Kennedy. Hasn't made a lot of ground. Started off with Edinburgh, went to Glasgow for a fair chunk of the season on loan, and has come back now. And you can see why the Scotland under-20 scrum halves such a highly rated prospect in these parts. Nick Williams at the back of the line out. Herring just making sure he hears the throw. Call correctly. Well taken by Dan Toohey. Edinburgh get round. Trying to stop Ulster from driving forward. Somebody's gone on the ground. Penalty against Edinburgh. A deliberate bit of collapsing there. Edinburgh need to be careful. Leighton Hodges will not take too many of those, particularly if they're deliberate.
2-4.
Ulster's penalty. And Paddy Jackson is going to go for the post. Well, this was the driving maul. It was well taken in initially by Dan Toohey. Good support of the back by Rob Herring. And Edinburgh committing the offence. So for the second time in about 3 minutes, Paddy Jackson is going to try to get this game back on level terms, and Ulster certainly need to win this game. They've got a tough one next weekend. It's Easter Saturday at the RDS in Dublin against their oldest Irish provincial rivals, Leinster. It's a game you can see with us on BBC television. This is a more difficult kick for Paddy Jackson in that it's much closer to the touchline and a tight angle. Contact sounded good, and he's missed that one as well. Well, just the one kick from 3 attempts by Paddy Jackson, and Edinburgh will be pretty relieved that Ireland's current international outside half hasn't got the kicking form with him. Right, just a touch on Ulster hand. Paul Marshall offload to Jared Payne at pace. Well away by Ulster. Good driving work up the far touchline by Big Lewis Stevenson. Kennedy thought about the quick line out, but changed his mind. It is going to be Edinburgh's line out, though.
Got to be quicker than that.
Leighton Hodges enjoying a little bit of repartee with Alan Jacobson. Wouldn't be the first referee to do that, I can tell you. Stephen Laurie for the home side. Still leading by 6 points to 3. Taken in by Grant Gilchrist. Ulster trying to disrupt. Back come Edinburgh. Ulster only committing a couple of players to the breakdown. Kennedy shaping to kick again. He's done that well all evening. Brought it in field. Good take by Michael Allen. Well, strong enough to regain his feet and keep possession. Marshall. Jackson. Underneath it is Tonks. Called for the fair catch, or the mark in the old days. Now, if he kicks this directly into touch, it will be an Ulster line-out, so he's shaping up for the Gary Owen. Giving it plenty of length. Jackson takes it. Payne. As Williams outside him. He needed somebody on his elbow. There weren't enough support runners there. Here's Paul Marshall. Robbie Dyack does well. Runs one way and then the other. Support from Stuart Olding. Marshall. Now Jackson. Well, I don't know what Ulster are doing in the middle of the park, but they're making it easy for Edinburgh. And here come Edinburgh. This is Lee Jones, who's got oodles of pace, the Scottish international. Talai. Ferocious handoff. Straight into the chest of Marshall. Kennedy. Looking cute and looking astute. Taken on, there was a bit of obstruction there, a little bit of crossing as Sean Cox took it forward. Somebody said something to Leighton Hodges, which is never a good idea, and he's given Ulster an extra 10 metres. Kennedy looking, and it was Kennedy, I think, who ran deliberately into Tom Court. There might have been Cox as well involved in that. What's the referee saying to Sean Cox? I think he's saying it was definitely a penalty offence, but not cardable. And Sean Cox is saying we've got a man injured over on the right-hand side, and that man is Lee Jones. All pretty affable.
Obstruction, descent.
Yeah, referee is saying first of all obstruction and then descent, which is what cost Edinburgh the 10 metres. And that's Paddy Jackson's best kick from a hand all evening. And he's put Ulster in a very good position. But the main question is, can Ulster do something about it? Because so far, it has not been a good display. Tom Court moving to the front of the Ulster lineup. Ulster with all 7 men in. Oh, great take by Robbie Dyack. Marshall. Dan Toohey runs into some solid defence. Referee's got the hand out for a penalty, and this is a very straightforward one.
You assist tackle, you have to come through the gate.
Funny feeling won't be too long before, if Edinburgh keep infringing like this, the referee might be looking for the yellow card. Sean Cox, the last man to get out of it. Just slowing down Ulster's go-forward ball. And Jackson, for the 3rd time in this half, has indicated that he's going for the Edinburgh post. And he needs to make good this one. Well, he's just, as you can see, to the left of the Edinburgh posts. So it's the easiest kick of the 3 he's had in this second half. I really don't believe this. Paddy Jackson has missed yet again. And that just about sums up Ulster's evening. And you really need your goal kicker, and of course there's no Ruan Pienaar to take over the duties. Paddy Jackson under pressure at international level for his goal kicking. Ruan Pienaar gave way to him when Ulster played Treviso, and Jackson landed 7 out of 9 so far. He's managed 1 out of 4. 25% is not a good return. This is Jackson with the Gary Owen. Talai underneath it. Terrific take. Good tackle by Ulster. Here's Jacobson. Gets away from Afoa. Kennedy, who's been terrific. Walloped by Francis. Jared Payne keeps it in. Talai covers again. This time a bit of width on it by Edinburgh. Here's Tonks. McAnally. Outrageous dummy. Olding missed the tackle. This is Dougie Fife. More at home on the wing than in the centre, but doing a good job there this evening. Well worked back by Kennedy. The busy Stephen Laurie. An Edinburgh score here could really upset Ulster's apple cart. Taken on by Ross Rennie. Kennedy probing the narrow side. Tonks back inside. Edinburgh much better with the go forward ball. Willem Nel. Ball has gone forward from an Edinburgh hand, and Ulster will be pretty relieved to get the scrummage. But that was a very good little passage of play by Edinburgh. Terrific work at the base of the Edinburgh scrum by Sean Kennedy, who's impressed me this evening. Just a wee nudge forward, I think, in the contact by Edinburgh, giving Ulster the scrum. Almost 15 minutes played in the second half, and no advance on the scoreboard. Tom Court was in there with a tackle. Nick Williams flopped in. Now, did that go forward from an Edinburgh hand? The referee seemed to think it did. Stuart Olding in the wars, and that's the last thing Ulster need, with Paddy Wallace out for 7 or 8 months. Luke Marshall recovering from concussions sustained during the Six Nations, and Stuart Olding seems to have done something to that knee of his, because they're calling, I think, for another little bit of help. That's Michael Webb with Doc on his back, the Ulster team doctor. Not sure what Ulster would do in terms of bringing on a replacement, but Ross Rennie really laying down the law there for Edinburgh. Vastly experienced now, with 20 Scottish caps to his name, the first incidentally against Ireland away back in 2008. Clock has stopped with nearly 15 minutes on. I have a funny feeling Edinburgh are going to bring on some pretty heavy artillery in the front row. If I'm not mistaken, Ross Ford is down below us, just warming up. So Paddy Jackson in contemplative mood, as well he might be. This is the first attempt at the start of the second half. Brought it in front of the post, one a lot further out, struck it nicely, but again off target, and the easiest of the three from almost directly in front, and he put that wide as well. He is, though, a wonderfully resilient young man, and he knows he makes the odd error, but he doesn't let it faze him too much. Stuart Olding has indeed left the field. Well, that's very unfortunate, with big game next week and the Heineken Cup coming up, and I think it's going to be Peter Nelson's going to come on, who's normally a full-back or a wing, so they might have to move Andrew Trimble into centre, and who will play inside centre we'll have to wait and see. It might be Darren Cave. So it is Peter Nelson, who himself has recovered from an injury.
Time back on.
Hasn't played for Ulster since they played Treviso in Italy back in November. Good solid looking scrum there by John Afoa, really putting his opposite number under pressure, but Talai picks up, gets away from Marshall. He's going to go all the way, just about. An Edinburgh try here would really cause Ulster problems. McNally gets over. Stuart McAnally gets Edinburgh's try. And this is heading for a major scalp for Edinburgh, who've had a very difficult season. They've only beaten Ulster once in the last 8 encounters, and they're heading for a famous victory here on their home turf. The scrum disintegrated, but Talai picked it up. Too strong for Marshall, too aggressive for the Ulster defence, and McAnally was too observant, took a nice flat pass, spiralled out of the tackle. Terrific try for the home side. And it's Piers Francis with 2 first-half penalties. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be a second-half conversion. Well, that is a surprise. So he's got a little touch of the Paddy Jackson's there. That was the easiest kick of the whole evening. You'd have thought somebody really could have just backheeled that over. He made such a mess of that. And that has given Ulster, well, albeit a very minor lifeline. Had Paddy Jackson landed those 3 second-half penalties, it would have been 11 to Edinburgh and 12 to Ulster. So Ulster 8 points down. And at the moment, not even in losing bonus point territory. Well gathered in by Edinburgh. Charged down by Dan Toohey. Great covering back by Kennedy, but the big Irish international is there. Here's Marshall. Poor pass. Cave. Jackson. Got Michael Allen on his shoulder. Marshall. Bit of a dither there by Marshall. McComish at scrum half. Nick Williams, who started well but hasn't done much since. Marshall again. Jackson. Trimble. Michael Allen. Back to Trimble. Good interplay between the wings for Ulster. Here's Marshall. McComish. Wee bit isolated. Good clearing out by Nick Williams. Marshall. Now Jackson. Jared Payne. Dinky little kick, but nobody there to chase it. Carried over the Edinburgh line, I have a feeling, by Tom Brown, and that's going to be a 5-metre scrum to Ulster. Well, Ulster at last responding, and it all came from a charge down and good control by Dan Toohey. Toohey at 6'6", a little bit bigger than Sean Kennedy. Kennedy did his very best. Toohey was there, and when Ulster got it away, they were looking for their first try. Good solid work by Jackson, and Michael Allen quickly in there. Marshall, referee, slightly impeded him, and all he could do was really move forward. Mike McComish at scrum half, and here goes Nick Williams. Good tackle by Piers Francis, and again Ulster keeping the pressure on. Trimble, then to Allen, and a nice little 1-2 riposte between the two wing three-quarters. And McComish, who's been busy all evening, managed to get the ball squeezed back quite legally. Marshall to Jackson, and Payne took the decision to chip it through. Seemed like the wrong decision, but as it turned out, because Ulster got the 5-metre scrum, it was the right decision. Five-metre scrum for Ulster. Good squeeze by Edinburgh. Here goes Williams, but he's not going to get across the line. The only line he's going to get across is the touch line. Great defence by Edinburgh's try scorer, Stuart McAnally. And Edinburgh will have the throw into the line-out. Coming up to the end of the third quarter, Williams given no room to get up that traditional head of steam of his. And well tackled by McAnally, and a pretty good assist by Natani Telai. And Marshall, interestingly, is being taken from the field, and Michael Heaney is on for Ulster. Back on the Ulster side, good steal. Here's Dyack. Good tackle by Nell. Heaney straight into action. Taken on by Dan Toohey, who helped to set the whole thing up. Stevenson in there as well. Edinburgh post in Ulster sight. Edinburgh tackling well. Here's Williams. Good work by Gilchrist. Now Williams needs to squeeze it back legally, and he does so. Taken on yet again by Ulster. There's the Edinburgh try line. Tom Court set it up for the visitors. Williams with a pick up and drive. Now if he grounds the ball at the post, not on the post, but at the post, it's a try. And Edinburgh have turned it over. What a great piece of home defence. Kennedy gets it away. Well, now this is enterprise of the highest order, because here comes Tom Brown. Well, you've got to give Edinburgh full marks, and you've got to give this fella Kennedy 10 out of 10. Not for that kick, though. That's his first real error of the evening. Straight into touch. And it'll be Ulster's line out. Well, there's been a fair bit of excitement now in the last 6 or 7 minutes, with Ulster throwing everything into it and Edinburgh defending pretty stoutly.
Just step off onto your front. It doesn't matter, you step off on your front man.
Tom Court at the front for Ulster. Behind him, Lewis Stevenson, and then Dan Toohey. It is Stevenson. Heaney, that's a good pass. Jackson. Cave. Heaney again. Jackson. Michael Allen. Good sidestep and acceleration. Back on the Ulster side, a bit untidily. Good work by Afoa. Michael Heaney. Tom Court. Jacobson hanging on to the Ulsterman for grim death. Jacobson slowed it all down. Taken away by Williams. Now Heaney. Jackson. Payne. Cave. Good work by the men in the middle of the park for Edinburgh. Here's Jackson. Tackle by was the try scorer, McNally. Away by Heaney. Jackson. Allen, who's played well. Out to Peter Nelson, who is out on the wing with Trimble in the centre. Williams takes it on. No way through for the enormous New Zealander. Well, a converted try for Ulster would still leave them a point short of Edinburgh's total at the moment. And Edinburgh are bringing on some heavy artillery in the shape of Scots international Jeff Cross is coming on. There was Williams.
Black number 3.
Wasn't a lot of room. Alan Jacobson did really well. So Dr. Jeff Cross, now 30 years of age. And with 21 Scottish caps to his credit, is coming on, and WP Nell will be going off. Edinburgh still with 2 internationals to be used as front row replacements. John Yapp from Wales and Ross Ford from Scotland.
3 call, 3!
Stephen Laurie.
Keep going, 3! Keep going, stay!
Good take by Sean Cox, Edinburgh's skipper. In goes Cross. Ulster need to churn it toward the touchline, and they haven't managed to do that to get the put into the line-out. Edinburgh's forward control is better. Kennedy. What a good kick. Nothing Peter Nelson could do about that. But 16 minutes remaining. And Ulster season, why not exactly on a free fall, certainly going through something of a downward spiral. Herring, Toohey, Heaney, Jackson, Allen. Oh, lovely pass. Here goes Payne. Payne gets away. He's got Trimble with them. Little chip, should he have passed it? Trimble dives, and Trimble scores. Wonderfully done by Ulster. Referee's going to have a look at it, but I'm pretty sure Andrew Trimble has got his 51st Ulster try.
Try is good here.
And his 31st in the league, and the touch judge in this side, Graham Marshall, says the try is good. No TMO here today, incidentally. Ulster needed something special. Heaney got it away nicely. Fabulous pass by Jackson. Michael Allen's pass was weighted to perfection. He had to work hard. The pass from Payne to Trimble might have been blocked, and Trimble gathered that beautifully, kept his momentum going and kept his eye on the ball. So Paddy Jackson from what would be the wrong side of the field for around the corner right-footed goal kicker, and this, if anything, is the toughest one he's faced so far. And he wasn't really close to that one at all. So 1 from 5 for Paddy Jackson, and Ulster still with a lot to do. Edinburgh 3 points up after Ulster's outstanding try, and number 17 is a broth of a lad. 21 times cap for Wales, John Yap coming on. So Edinburgh have brought on 2 serious bits of work in the front row. Nick Williams, it went behind him. Play on, says the referee. Straight into action. Michael Heaney, first time he's kicked, and it's not a bad one. Talai waits. Good work by Greg Tonks to set it up. The excellent Kennedy gets it away. Talai gives Edinburgh some go-forward ball. Kennedy, Ross Ford, so an all-international front row on for Edinburgh. Not a bad trio to have on your bench. And now off the bench, here's another Scots international, Ross Rennie. Kennedy, Francis, Tonks. First Ulster tackle wasn't good enough, taken on by Dougie Fife. Sean Kennedy, Edinburgh looking to respond. Jared Payne saying to the referee that was forward. The referee says that's okay, I saw that. Scrum to Ulster. Kennedy really has impressed me. I think it came off Stuart McInally. Well, look who Edinburgh are bringing on. Tim Visser. Now, the Dutchman, now a fully fledged Scottish internationalist. And what a specimen he is, the man who scored tries just for fun. It's like Darren Cave has made contact with something that's caused him a little cut or two, but they're not wasting any time.
Are you making a blood change? Are you making a blood change?
Robbie Dyack getting a little bit of treatment as well. Is there some blood in around his chin? They may have to do something about that. Ulster have only got Ali Birch on the bench, and here comes an Ulster replacement. They may have to take Darren Cave off, and that's Ricky Andrews coming on for Ulster. So I'm not altogether sure who's going off, if indeed anybody is going off. Darren Cave has got himself well and truly wrapped up. So Ricky Andrew may just have to wait. Still some treatment being applied to Robbie Dyack on the far side. Knocked forward by Black, says the referee. And what a replacement front row to bring off the bench. Jeff Cross, Ross Ford, John Yap. Clock is going to start again. About 12 minutes remaining. And Ulster in completely the wrong part of the pitch to do something that might swing the game in their favour. Free kick against Ulster for early engagement. John Afoe in particular. Little tap to the enormous Welshman, John Yap. Edinburgh come again looking stronger. Good tackle on Cox by Dan Toohey. Kennedy. Francis, nicely done. Off his wing came Lee Jones, but Andrew Trimble was in his face. Gilchrist. Kennedy again for Edinburgh. McAnally, Edinburgh's try scorer. Good support from John Yap and from Ross Ford. Ulster close to being offside there. Oh, and away go Edinburgh, and it's Jeff Cross. Tackle was by Payne. Plenty of men out wide if they can manage to create something. Dougie Fife out in the wing where he likes to be. Here come Edinburgh again. Here's Yap, really enjoying his evening. Still there for Edinburgh. That's all right from Ulster. Came through the gate, as they call it. Away by Kennedy. Tonks. Jeff Cross picks up and has a go. Edinburgh looking for a second close range try which could seal Ulster's fate, not just for the evening, but maybe for the season. Kennedy. Gilchrist. There at the Ulster post within touching distance. Kennedy. Here come Edinburgh. Oh, nicely done, and he spilled it. Piers Francis. Michael Heaney touches it down, but the ball was knocked forward over the Ulster line. Well, 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 that really could have been game, set and match for the home side after a very difficult season under Michael Bradley. Under Stevie Scott, they seem to be prospering. Now, did that come back from Rob Herring's hand? That's rather interesting. Touchdown by Michael Heaney. How close was Piers Francis to getting a second try of this league campaign? This only his 6th league game of the season. Darren Cave has played 75 games before this evening. What a season it's been for the 22-year-old from Stirling. Grant Gilchrist made his international debut in Scotland's last championship game against France. John Yap not really featuring for Wales in the past few seasons. He's been involved in 15 of 17 games and now 16 from 18. Under 10 minutes remaining. Also need to conjure something pretty special up. Heaney. Well, that's been kept in field. Greg Tonks. Bounces off Paddy Jackson. Kennedy. Bit of a readjustment. Francis tried to bolt through the tackle. Play on, says the referee, it was out. Well snaffled by Mike McCormish. Heaney. Jackson. Rob Herring. Good Edinburgh tackling. Wee bit of obstruction there by Edinburgh. Referee's playing advantage. Tom Court has to give this. He does. Gives it to McCormish. Heaney. John Afoe, now Ulster's captain. Edinburgh slowing it down again. Back inside to Michael Allen, who's been very busy. Heaney. Referee in the way again. Taken on by Dan Toohey. Heaney switches direction. Here's Jackson. Well, that's not a great pass by Jackson, but the referee had spotted the Edinburgh infringement. And it's going to be a penalty to Ulster.
Taking the man in front of the ball.
Well, it tells Sean Cox that an Ulsterman was taken out. And we're going to make another replacement in the forwards. It's Hamish Watson, who I think is going to be coming on. Back row forward, Hamish Watson, 20 years of age. Paddy Jackson finds a good touch. Well, there is time for Ulster, but there's only 7 minutes of time. And you can bet your bottom dollar Edinburgh will do everything to deny Ulster even a penalty which could draw the game, let alone a try which would win the game for Ulster. But nothing else but a win here this evening will suffice for Ulster if the season is not going to fall apart. Herring made good ground. Heaney, it's all a bit slow. Edinburgh have got back into position. Don't know where that ball was supposed to be going, and Ulster have lost it, and it's been pulled in by John Yap, and Kennedy gets it away. That's a clever kick. Lee Jones tries to close down Jared Payne, and all the talented Aucklander can do is put it into touch, and Ulster have lost such a lot of ground, and Jared Payne is grimacing there. Now, he's had a lot of problems. Last year he completely ruptured his Achilles tendon. He's had an ongoing groin problem this season. Came through a fitness test on Wednesday, and because of that he was more than happy to start his first game for a long time. But Ulster on their own 22, and Edinburgh can sniff a rare victory. Last 3 times these sides met, Ulster averaged 5 tries. And needless to say, 1 or 2 teams lurking in and around the top of the table will be very happy if Ulster go down. Here comes Kennedy. Back inside to Atiga, whose role has been mainly defensive, but he's done it well. Referee's given the penalty against Ulster. Ross Rennie, good offload. Well, Edinburgh playing some attractive rugby. Darren Cave, on the occasion of his 100th cap, has given away a fairly kickable penalty. And this might well be the end of a lot of Ulster's hopes for this season, unless they can win every single one of their last 4 remaining games, starting with Leinster in Dublin next Saturday. They're also away to Connacht. They've got Cardiff and the Dragons at home, but this was the game that they would have been looking at as a source of at least 4 points. Well, Piers Francis made an absolute shambles of the conversion of the try taken by Stuart McAnally. Won't want to do something similar here. Francis with what might be the winning kick. No mistake from that one. And Ulster in all sorts of problems, having been romping home at one stage, 11 points clear at the top of the Rabo Direct Pro 12 league table, find themselves in second place at the start of this game behind Glasgow, and at the end of this weekend it could be even worse. Trimble with the chase, but gathered in by Edinburgh's skipper, the abrasive Sean Cox. Here for me is the man of the match, Sean Kennedy. Payne gathers. Jackson, dangerous, well played by Nelson. He's got Allen with him, well away. Allen with a bit of pace. Little kick, looking for Michael Heaney to chase. It's not going to sit up for Ulster's scrum half. It's probably the biggest dead ball area in modern rugby. You look as if you could play a 7-a-side game in it, but it wasn't big enough for that kick to sit up. Michael Allen has had a very good game, versatile youngster. 12th start of the season for Ulster.
22 or the scrum where they kick it from.
Very much involved with Ulster's try.
Where's the mark? Where the AR is there?
Now, if something happened...
Scrum option taken. Here, Graham. One dead. Scrum. Black ball.
Yes, the ball was kicked. The ball was kicked dead, so they've actually come back for the scrum at the point where the ball was kicked.
Just that back up there. I've spoken to the prop here.
It did bounce and roll and everything else.
Just let me.
So Leighton Hodges has made absolutely the right call with a bit of assistance from his assistant on the far side.
Marcus here. Time back on. Scrum black. Ball dead.
Tight.
Just a couple of minutes remaining.
Stay where you are. Crouch! Touch! Set!
Into touch yet again by the excellent Kennedy. Well, just over a minute remaining on the large electronic clock here at Murrayfield, which stops when the referee gives the command stop, so it's pretty accurate. And Ulster's last chance to do something. They need to secure the ball. They've got to stay focused, albeit for a minute and a half. Herring throws. Back, Heaney. Jackson had to stretch. Allen. Well, Allen has done really well. Apart from that pass, Trimble. Ulster's try scorer. Heaney, Jackson, John Afoa, well policed. Heaney again. Herring. Good work by Herring. 30 seconds remaining. Nick Williams, who's had a quiet return. Ulster not really at home there. Jackson couldn't gather. Cave gets it away. Not the performance by his side to mark his 100th cap. Still there, here's Robbie Dyack. Ulster need a 70-metre breakaway to win this game. Jackson. Peter Nelson doing his best. Michael Heaney, Jackson again. Taken on by Nick Williams. But they need to get it wide, and the penalty's been given away. I don't think there's time to go for touch.
No, time is up.
Time is up, so Ulster have to run it. Heaney to Jackson, to Dan Toohey. He is quick, but they need to get it to somebody with a bit more pace. Here's Jackson. Williams. Edinburgh tackling splendidly. Heaney, Jackson looking for Payne, man who so often has made a difference. Lewis Stevenson away to Robbie Dyack.
Release Black!
Edinburgh's defence been really tested, but it's proved pretty solid. Here's John Afoa, Ulster's captain, taken by his opposite number, Edinburgh's captain, Cox. Heaney again. Knocked forward by Ulster, advantage to Edinburgh, and that's going to be it. Referee blows the whistle, and Edinburgh have started something of a mini recovery following what has been an absolutely awful season so far, and Ulster's season is threatening to unravel. Not the preparation for a tough Heineken Cup game away to Saracens at Twickenham in a couple of weeks' time, and with Edinburgh and Dublin to come, it's going to be a tough run in for Ulster. They have blown yet another chance to secure a home semi-final in this Pro 12 competition, and they've lost by 6 points here to Edinburgh. Coming away from Edinburgh with a losing bonus point will certainly not suffice. Well, it looked pretty good for Ulster. They were presented with a certain number of changes. Paddy Jackson from not all that terribly far away, a little bit further out, but the same result, and the result was no points. And then the easiest of the three, and he clipped that wide as well. 9 points went a begging, and Edinburgh then came back. Ulster scrummaging strongly, but even stronger was the run by Natani Talai. He got away from a lacklustre Ulster defence, and there in support was his fellow back row forward Stuart McNally, who spiralled over for Edinburgh's try. Ulster certainly had to come back. It was a nice piece of possession initially. Good flat pass. Michael Allen set up Gerald Payne nicely, and Payne took just about the right option at the time, and Andrew Trimble kept his eye on the ball and dotted it down for the try to give Ulster a little bit of hope. Piers Francis came so close to making it all over. Spilled the ball just on the Ulster line as Michael Heaney recovered, but it was Francis who had the final say, and from about 20 metres right between the Ulster posts to give Edinburgh the victory, and Ulster a somewhat ignominious and very disappointing defeat, which will not help their season whatsoever. Final score here at Scottish Rugby's headquarters. Edinburgh delighted with the scoreline. That means Edinburgh 14 and Ulster 8.